Well, no. Brothers.
You used to do
that. City Council will come to order, please. Clerk, call the roll.
Rogers.
Here.
Schmidt.
Here.
Whitaker.
Here.
Wright.
Yes.
Godwin.
Here.
Hensley.
Here.
Hottishell.
Yeah, here.
Well, welcome to Greenville City Council, February 20th. Second meeting in February. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Kirk.
Rule of the minutes. We received a communication from the clerk that the December the 19th minutes were corrected. There had been an amendment to the minutes that needed to be made, so we need to approve that, as well as approval of the minutes of the February 6th meeting, which were presented to you via email. So any additions or corrections other than what is noted? Seeing none, they'll stand approved as presented and as amended by the clerk. Approval of current financial report. You all received a copy of the current financial report for this month from the auditor. Is there a motion to accept?
Yes. Move.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to accept the current financial report. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yeah.
Wright.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Hottishell.
Yes.
And approval agenda. The only thing I have to add is after the call of council, there is a need for an executive session regarding Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1, which is paraphrased here, matters of personnel to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, and or compensation of a public employee or official, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And other than that, that is all I have at this time.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion by Mr. Schmidt to approve the agenda as amended. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Hottishell.
Yes.
Now, we have a public hearing. Anyone wishing to address council may do so at this time. Please come forward, give your name and address, and state your case. Don't see a whole lot of people rushing to the microphone, so we will move the agenda and go on with the administrative reports.
Thank you.
Woman.
Thank you. As you see, annual report is done, and I encourage everybody to look through it. There's a lot of information in there. It's Brian made the statement, it looks bigger than it has before. It's like, well, I think it kind of shows a little bit maybe that things are doing well and we've been able to do more, and it'll reflect that in the report. So get a chance to at least read a lot of the cover statements from the different departments, and my statement is there too. And of course, one of the biggest things that the mayor would report on is that things are good, financials are good. So it's all to do with everybody here and everybody in every department doing their job, and economy is better than it's been for a while. Second year maybe in a row, but looking forward. So more than that, just try to read most of it. There's a lot of technical stuff in there from different departments, but it's very interesting stuff with the projects we were able to accomplish, still being worked on, and we'll continue to do more. So anybody have any questions, let me know. Thank you. I pass on.
I would like to, at this time, make official recognition by this council of the receipt of the mayor's annual report and reflect that in the minutes, because that has to be a part of our the minutes that council has received it. So we acknowledge that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, Safety Service Director, Mr. Garrison.
Thank you, Mr. Council President, and I too would echo the mayor's sentiments about his report. There are a lot of technical pieces within that report, and if at any time you read that and have questions, feel free to call me up on the phone, stop in the office. Would be more than happy to address those issues or explain it even further. But you know, not only is the amount of work that was accomplished in 2017 a testament to the type of employees that we have here at the City of Greenville, but it is a testament to what we are collectively doing with economic development and how important that is to making everything happen within the city. So thank you for that, and again, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Mr. Council President, at this time, I would like to request a special work session of council. Would like to schedule that meeting sometime in March for the purpose of reviewing the preliminary downtown redevelopment district plan. This meeting would be a meeting that our consultant, Nate Green from the Montrose Group, would attend, and he will have a draft version of the redevelopment plan for us to review at that meeting. There are a few questions that are left that council can only answer, so we would be seeking some direction or answers during that meeting so that we could put the draft version and a final version and then present it at a future council meeting for your consideration. So I know President Burkett and I had tossed around prior to this meeting, maybe scheduling something the off Tuesday in March the 13th.
All right. 6th will be the first meeting in March, then it'll be the 13th, so that would make 3 meetings in a row. It's up to, does anyone have any conflict or issues with that time?
And budget an hour and a half, I would say an hour and a half to 2 hours for that meeting.
But
Maybe.
should we start at 7?
Or probably earlier.
How about 6?
6? 6:30?
On Tuesday, that'd be fine, whatever time.
I'll try and be here.
Or
Would
even
6:30 work for you better, Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's shoot for 6:30 on the 13th.
Okay.
Okay, that'll be a special committee of the whole. No action taken. Review of the,
Downtown Redevelopment District Plan,
okay, very good.
or DRD for short.
All right. Thank you.
Then moving on, the next thing, just to information for council's benefit. For numerous amount of years, even prior to my arrival, the city had employed a custodian. At one point, that job was 2 positions, and it was full-time. Then it went to a full-time and a part-time. Then it went down to just a part-time position. And for the last several years, we had employed a part-time custodian, approximately 20 hours a week. Primary roles, as we hear the sweeper in the background, of sweeping the floors, just general janitorial needs. But this person was here during the day. Through the last couple hiring processes, it was difficult to find the right individual for that position. So as an administration, we took a different direction, and we have hired a company to come in and do all of our janitorial needs or cleaning, and they're doing that in the evening now rather than the day. And what we're finding financially, it's costing us about the same amount of money as it would to employ an individual if they were at, say, step D within our wage scale. So it is financially feasible to do this, and in talking to the employees and other members of the administration, we feel we're getting a better job. So we would like to continue on this path. The reason I bring it up, right now I have my money for wages appropriated in the wage line item. I'll most likely come back to you at a future meeting and have that money moved out of wages into a line item that would cover services from an outside agency.
Is this a local company?
Yeah, Mark Ridgway is the owner of the company, Midwest Custodial. So they're doing us a fine job. And Midwest is also the same company that we've employed in the past on a yearly basis to come in and clean our carpets, wax our floors, wash windows. So we have already established a relationship with them. So the next thing we'd like to talk about are kind of an update on some of our projects. And again, if I don't mention the project, nothing new is happening. But the console phone project at the police department is progressing nicely. Last week, we had all of our portable radios delivered. The mobile radios have been installed in our fire trucks and our police cars. And we're moving forward with the console installation and dispatch. The plan is to have the consoles up and running by Friday, and then our go-live date is on Monday. So theoretically, if all goes well, the city of Greenville will switch to the Marks radio system on Monday. So it's well ahead of the April 16th deadline set by the county. So we're pleased and moving forward with that. The HVAC project continues as well. We hope to have the annex building wrapped up by the end of the month, moving into this building the first week in March. The Donald Drive water line, haven't mentioned that project for a couple weeks due to the weather. They had pulled off. Well, with a beautiful spring-like day today, makes it more conducive to install water line. So they will be getting back on that job later this week and continuing into next week until the project is completed. And last but not least, I would like to report, it's kind of a bittersweet, but Barry Blanton, who has served this city for the past 26, almost 27 years, retired today. Without much fanfare or party. It's not what Barry desired. He's actually been on vacation for the last 2 weeks, but had decided that his time with the city he was ready to move on to something else. So we wish him well in his retirement. Again, 26 plus years. We would hope that in the near future that we could maybe get him to attend a council meeting, and we'll be able to present him with a token of our appreciation. So with that, I guess the last thing to report on are we have 2 civil service tests that we're currently giving. For anyone looking for a job that feels they might wish to be a police dispatcher, police and fire dispatcher, or if they would choose to become a firefighter, or if they're already a firefighter and would like to find employment with the city of Greenville, we do have the 2 tests available, and all of that information can be found on the City of Greenville website, which is cityofgreenville.org. So we would encourage anyone who is interested to check that out. And with that, Mr. Council President, I will pass.
Okay, thank you, sir. Law Director, Mr. Brand.
I will pass.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And City Auditor, Mrs. Wellman.
All I was going to do was remind you of the need for a public hearing, but I see under new business that's listed already. So
Okay.
with that, I pass.
All right, thank you. And we do have a committee report this evening out of the Finance Committee. This is review of the community funds request.
A report dated February 16th, 2018. Honorable members, the Finance Committee met on February 6th, 2018 and February 15th, 2018 to review the request for distribution of community funds. The committee makes the following recommendation of monies from the community events line for 2018 appropriations. Dark County Visitors Bureau, $18,000. Main Street Greenville, $18,000. Dark County Historical Society, $250. Dark County Horseshoe Ohio State Tournament, $1,500. Dark County Horseshoe Ringer Classic Tournament, $1,500. Community Events Appropriation, $10,130. The Gathering at Garsh, $250. Dark County Economic Development Corporation, $20,000. Annie Oakley for $1,000. Baseball League, $2,000. The Softball League at $2,000. The Fireworks at $11,500. And Union Cemetery at $5,000. Totaling $91,130. The committee noted that there needs to be clarification on the Dark County Economic Development line. The alternative would be that the Economic Development Fund amount listed would be put in a reserve amount under the allocation of community funds. The Finance Committee also recommends that necessary legislation be prepared. Committee on Finance, John Hensley, Chairman, Doug Schmidt, Vice Chairman, and Jeff Whitaker, Member.
Make a motion to accept the committee report.
Motion by Mr. Godwin to accept the committee report. Discussion.
We might need the clarification to know where this 20,000 is going to go. There was,
Okay.
the mayor brought up that in the original discussions about the Economic Development Fund, it was thought that that 20,000 would be coming out of the general fund. But at our meeting of the committee of a whole on the budget, it was discussed that that money would be coming, it was the understanding that that money would be coming out of the community funds. So Vicki, the clerk of council, she looked up and verified that that was what was discussed during the committee of a whole. And it's my understanding that it would come out of the community funds. But if the council is so inclined to take the money out of the general fund instead of the community funds, then it is our recommendation in this report that that 20,000 of community funds be put in a reserve account in case we have a need this year, a request for funds.
I spoke to that a little bit, Council President.
Sure.
The purpose that, I kind of pushed that to happen somewhat. The purpose of that 20,000 going to economic development to be put into the budget, the idea was to have that come out of general funds. I just thought it was important enough that that money be the general fund, because I don't think it's right that could vary, fluctuate up and down throughout the years and struggle to find money in the community funds to give that to economic development. So I thought it'd be best to always have that amount of money come out of the general fund. It just seems like that was a better place for it. And there wasn't any intent there to try to make sure that other organizations got more money. It's just the fact that I thought it would be best that it would come from there. So I don't know, I think there was some confusion. There was for me, at the finance meeting, but at the committee of the whole, I know it was brought up, we talked about it a little bit there, and it was discussed there somewhat, but I don't know that it was ever decided for sure that one way or the other. It was just talked about. I didn't think that it was decided it would come out of the community funds. To me, it was just passed in the budget as coming out of general funds. That's what I understood. I know Roxana talked about it a little bit too. She thought that was the intent to begin with, but I don't know. I think I was the one that originally started that, so it wasn't my intent. But so whatever you guys think. So I just think it was important enough that it should come out of different monies and always be there.
Excuse me, did you have an opportunity to research that, Auditor?
A little bit. It has come out of community funds in the past, since we started donating to
the
county
Partnering for
economic-
Progress and the,
Correct. It
it's
has
come out of the
there.
community funds? Okay.
Yes.
I stand corrected. I thought it was general fund appropriations
Right.
for a while.
I will also say, just before, as you're deciding what you want to do, we did have, as far as our budget projection, we did have an overage of $30,383. So there is sufficient monies if you do want to take this out of the general fund. We still have, we're still have excess funds that we could move. So but like I said, I definitely had some confusion on this. I thought that we just wanted to make it a separate line item so that it would definitely be listed as that was one item that was, we were going to give 20,000 to, and we were going to continue to do that on a yearly basis, and so that was the reason for separating it out. But whatever the majority of the council would like to do, that's what we'll go with.
I kind of understood it the way you did too, that, you know, it was going to be a separate line item so that it was a paper trail to continue that way. And another thing too is that, you know, if we're going to have that extra 20,000 or whatever, put it in whatever escrow or whatever you want to call it, I would like to see, you know, the report amended somewhat to give the Visitors Bureau in Main Street another $2,000. If you look at the three entities, Dark County Economic Development or whatever, is they're trying to get businesses. Main Street Greenville is trying to keep businesses in the downtown area, so their economic development. And the Visitors Bureau, they're also trying to get tourism in to help the businesses. So, you know, if we could up their amount just a little bit, I think would be a plus.
I would agree.
Well, we've actually increased the amount that we gave from last year. I think last year it was, we actually allocated 14,900, and then we had come up to realization that one item that we wanted to fund, we couldn't fund, and then that was the gates on the band shell, and we split that money between them, so they actually got 16,000 last year. So we actually had increased it. I mean, I'm not opposed to increasing it more. They are setting on a fairly healthy reserve, both the Visitors Bureau and Main Street, but they can always come back and ask for more in this if we have that reserve, or if like the YOLO Park has a grand opening, then we would have money if we needed to do something at that point.
Along with that too, and John had mentioned this in our finance committee meeting, part of his reasoning for maybe developing a reserve is if we're not in the shape we're in this particular year, if they come back next year and these funds are not available, if we have reserve, we may be able to continue to help them at a similar level that we've been doing, as opposed to spending the whole thing right now and not having anything, and then having a downturn and not being able to help a lot of these organizations. That was a little bit of the mindset, so.
How about carry it over to next year?
Yeah, yeah, yep.
We always have somebody coming up here and asking for funds, some way of helping the community and stuff, and if we had this extra money in there, then we could do something during the year when it pops up or when somebody comes up and wants it. You know, we can use it that way instead of just saying, let's get rid of it all real quick. And
There was a couple of things that were brought up at the finance committee meeting, right?
Yes, yeah, everything has not been.
Armand Field and
yeah.
something else I can't remember.
There's an issue with the band shell. They've got some items that the municipal band wants to do yet. And
So people know, and I'm not trying to argue anything or go against what you were trying to say. 2 years ago, they received 18.5, both organizations. Yeah, they have a reserve fund. We're talking about doing the same thing. What organization doesn't? The city carries basically a reserve or leaves so much of the budget for the next year in case we're not doing so well another year. You know, if a quarter of money or whatever, but, you know, I'm just saying, because comparing that, I would think that we would want organizations to carry a little bit over, so they have time of need, they may use it. So
I didn't mean for it to sound like I was arguing with you.
I know. Well, I didn't want it to sound like I was.
I just wanted that we had a situation in which we needed to clarify where that 20
Oh, yeah.
grand was coming
Right.
from.
Absolutely.
Well, okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept this committee's report. I've heard several different ideas. One in particular is the Dark County Economic Development Corporation $20,000 grant or issue here. And I've heard several other things to increase this, decrease that, so on and so forth. I think to make it clean, we either accept the committee's report, we table the committee's report, and come back with one that is acceptable, or we amend it to remove the Economic Development Corporation $20,000 and go to the, take that from the general fund, and then that will reduce the appropriations to basically $71,130. And then we can come back with legislation to do whatever we need to do with the remaining $20. If we start muddying the water and getting, well, we're gonna up this by 50 and this, I think it gets pretty messy. That's my take on it. Now, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but, you know, you're the people that vote. So, we do have a motion on the floor, and where do we go from here? If there's no further discussion, I'm going to call for the vote, unless someone makes an amendment.
I think we need to make a decision on where, if this is gonna be a permanent line item, or if it's gonna come out of here. I mean, how we do that this.
For Dark County Economic Development,
yes.
yeah.
I mean, that was the confusion, the discussion the other day.
Maybe,
So we thought we needed to bring that in front of everyone.
and I'm just thinking out loud here, maybe it would be in line for us to decide and take a vote on whether Dark County Economic Development Corporation should be a general fund item now and in the future, just to
Well,
keep
what we'd have to do is we'd have to remove this from.
Right.
Right now, we have a motion on the floor with this in it. If there's an amendment, then that amendment would have to be considered, and then vote on the motion.
Right.
Who can do the amendment?
Pardon?
Who can do the amendment? Just
Anybody.
Okay. I would amend that we take the Dark County Economic Development out of this.
Community funds?
Out of the community funds and make it a general fund.
Okay, so we're going to strike the line of Dark County Economic Development Corporation of $20,000, which will affect the total and change it to $71,130 $71,130 for the other aforementioned organizations. Discussion on the amendment. Call a roll on the amendment, please.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Addishell?
Yes.
Okay, now we're back to the original motion to accept the committee's report with the deletion of the Dark County Economic Development Corporation. Further discussion on that? Call a roll, please.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Addishell?
Yes.
Okay. That disposes of that situation. Now, is the legislation prepared? Okay, legislation is not prepared, so that will come up at the next council meeting, hopefully. All right? All right, that concludes our committee reports. And we have two ordinances to consider tonight. First is the supplemental appropriations ordinance.
Here's a change on the summary of the supplemental. We are removing the CIP fund information from that. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018. This ordinance authorizes appropriations to the general fund for transfers, elected auditor and treasurer in the amount of $16,000. These additional funds are needed for the city's portion of the police department pension fund. CIP transfers elected auditor and treasurer in the amount of $95,911. These funds are being transferred to the CIP fund and represent revenue from equipment sold on govdeals.com. Travel and education income tax in the amount of $2,500. These funds are needed for additional training for new staff. And to the park fund for future park development park in the amount of $5,300. These funds represent donations made to the Ban Shell construction project.
Make a motion on this ordinance to suspend the rules and read this by title only, second, third time.
Motion by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Pettichel?
yes,
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018.
Move to adopt the ordinance?
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Pettichel?
yes,
Okay, next we have an ordinance authorizing the hiring of an interim sewer plant superintendent and declaring an emergency.
An ordinance authorizing the hiring of an interim sewer plant superintendent and declaring an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the hiring of former wastewater superintendent Vaughn Downey on an interim basis not to exceed 180 days. This ordinance has an emergency clause.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Pettichel?
yes,
An ordinance authorizing the hiring of an interim sewer plant superintendent and declaring an emergency. An ordinance authorizing the hiring of an interim sewer plant superintendent and declaring an emergency.
motion to accept the emergency clause,
Motion by Mrs. Howdeshell to accept the emergency clause. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Pettichel?
yes,
Move to adopt the ordinance?
For Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Pettichel?
yes,
And that concludes our ordinances and resolutions. Nothing under old, under new business. City Council, as you know, we do have some farmland or some land that we rent in the industrial park that is farmed. And because of the CAUV, current agricultural, use value or something like that, we have to file because it's all agricultural land. Since it is within the city limits, we must have a public hearing regarding this issue before we file our CAUV, what is it?
Application, paper.
Well, before we file it, anyway. And we have to do it within 30 days. It doesn't have to lay over 30 days, we must do it within 30 days. So I'm going to set March the 6th as the public hearing on that issue for the next, which will be the next regular scheduled council meeting. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, that is set. We have communications.
Monthly report was received from the street department. This report was distributed to council.
That's it. Well, if nothing further, we'll call down the council, please.
Mr. Rogers?
Pass.
Mr. Schmidt?
I will pass.
Mr. Whitaker?
I got a email, and I think everyone got it, and I thought this was worth noting. Council President Burkett got a letter from, or an email or something, from a lady that was visiting friends in Bradford, and she was just very complimentary of everyone in the city. I had the pleasure of visiting your charming town. I was impressed by the beautiful boutiques and shops I visited on South Broadway Street. The shop owners were so friendly and obviously proud of their town. They shared information about other shops and upcoming events and answered my many questions. I shopped at and made purchases at the Cozy Nest, Bread of Life bookstore, Ivy League Floral, and KitchenAid. I had a lovely lunch at the Italian restaurant located in the Palace Building, and ended my visit with the coffee at the Coffee Pot. The pumpkin pie I ordered was some of the best I've ever eaten, and that includes my grandmother's special recipe. That was pretty nice. As I returned my car loaded with packages, I was stopped by a woman who enthusiastically thanked me for shopping locally. When I told her I was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, she welcomed me to Greenville and invited me to return. Wow, that's marketing at its very best. I will definitely make the 5-hour trip from my hometown in the Pittsburgh suburbs to further explore your amazing town. Please pass on my congratulations to City Council for keeping small-town America alive in a very big way. And this is with best regards, Rebecca Johnson of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That was pretty nice. So I thought, you know, me being on Main Street, Greenville, too bad they're not here tonight to hear that, but I'll bring it to their meeting next time as well and let them know. I just thought it was very complimentary of Greenville, and I wanted to make note of that. With that, I'll pass.
Mr. Wright?
I'll pass.
Mr. Godwin?
Just hope everybody enjoyed this day today, and it's going to get cold again. With that, I'll pass.
Mr. Ansley?
I'll pass.
Mrs. Haddishell?
I'll pass.
Mr. President Bergen?
Yes, thank you. I did respond to that young lady's comments, and I thought it was very nice. It was kind of funny when I started reading, and I kept looking for the however, but and it didn't happen, and I was really pleased about that.
That's why I read it, because
Thank you. That is nice to get, and you know, there are only 7 of us, and there are thousands of you out there who make the city great. It's not just this council or this administration and just the people working in the city. They have a lot to do with it, but all of you, all of us in this whole entire city, our police, our fire, our street, our, you know, water, wastewater, all of our employees do things that make this a great place to be, and I think that's really, really neat. So, with that, I will entertain a motion to rise to executive session.
So moved.
And I would like to ask that Kim Davis, the deputy clerk, or excuse me, the deputy auditor, please be included in that executive session. Now, who was it? Mr.
Okay.
Whitaker? Did you move?
Both of us.
Oh, it was
those
you.
two,
Oh, Mrs. Howard.
they were duking it out.
You want
Okay,
us to
Mrs.
flip?
Howard. Call the roll, please.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Haddishell?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll stand for a recess while we turn down the